Welcome back, ladies and gents. Matty back again. Today we are going to talk about this gorgeous top quilt draped over my shoulders here. A bit of a long-term review on my UGQ Bandit top quilt. We're going to talk about some pros of the top quilt, some things I might change on the top quilt if I was to buy it again, and just kind of my overall impressions after having this top quilt for the last 3.5 years of backpacking up here in the gorgeous Canadian Rockies. Now, if you guys are new to the channel and you're into backpacking and hiking type stuff, there's a subscribe button over here. I highly suggest you guys click on that and click on the bell notifications so you guys get notified every single time I drop a video. With that out of the way, let's talk about the UGQ Bandit. My top quilt is the regular length, so it's the 78 inches long from the bottom to the top, and it is the standard width, or the narrower one. I do believe they come in a 55 width, and they may even make a wider one. I'm sure if you talk to UGQ, they can make whatever you guys want. But my quilt is 78 inches long by 50 inches wide when it is fully opened up. And when I say fully opened up, I've got the snap closure foot box. So you just undo the drawstring, you can open up the bottom of the quilt, undo the snaps, and then you literally just have a full rectangular blanket if you want to use it like that. Now on warmer nights, this is how I use it inside my hammock. I am primarily a hammock camper, and that's a big reason why I went with the little bit of a skinnier with only the 50-inch wide. I know most ground sleepers like to go with the 55-inch width just to give them a little bit more coverage over their shoulders and tucks in on their sides a little better. Now, me being an extremely narrow guy, I'm pretty skinny if you can't tell. The 50 wide works just fine for me on the ground, using pad straps or even going without. Now, if you're not a fan of the foot box that opens up, I know a lot of people complain that you get a little tiny hole here in the bottom, and this is one of the original quilts from UGQ. I know they do have a new system out to cover up this little hole in the bottom of your top quilt here. If you've got the old style top quilt and you're kind of getting drafts through this little hole in the bottom, all I've ever done to combat that is just take my extra pair of socks or a t-shirt or a buff or any kind of little piece of fabric, stick it in the hole here and cinch it up around there, and that plugs up the hole. One of the big reasons I went with the UGQ was a little bit more customization, and that would be just the different fabrics, the different color options. It was a lot of fun kind of going through their site and picking and choosing what I wanted, and just from my experiences in the past, the people over at UGQ are fantastic to deal with. So it was kind of a no-brainer to me when it came to getting a top quilt from them. I went with the HD 1.0 in Moroccan blue for the outer, and for the inner I went with the M10 in a burnt orange. Not sure if you can tell, but blue and orange is one of my favorite color options, so getting a blue and orange top quilt, a bit of a no-brainer for me. And UGQ were even awesome enough to sew a little Matty Outdoors patch that I had sent to them. They sewed that on the quilt for me, which was awesome. Very, very easy to deal with to get that done. If you guys are looking at any kind of custom stuff when it comes to your top quilts, they have done some amazing custom work over on their Instagram page. They post a lot of different pictures. I'll put links down in the description box down below to their Instagram as well as their website, where you can take a look and maybe pick up your own top quilt if that's what you're looking at getting into. Went with the 800 fill power down. It is a little bit heavier than getting into the 850 or the 900 fill powers. Obviously, the 850 and the 900 fill power down quilts are quite a bit more expensive than going with the 800 fill power route, and it just gets exponentially more when you start shipping it up to Canada and you deal with the international shipping, plus our customs and duties, and the exchange rate as well. Being on a bit of a limited budget, I just didn't see myself spending $500 to $600 on the 850 or 900 fill power down quilt. And honestly, it only would have shaved me a couple of ounces out of my backpacking kit. So for, saving myself about $250, going the route of the 800 fill power down was a no-brainer to me. The weight of my top quilt specifically is 21.6 ounces or 612 grams. Obviously, you're going to get varying weights based on what fabrics you choose and what length and width you get and what fill power down you end up getting on the inside. But when compared to a sleeping bag of the same temperature rating, a top quilt is always going to be lighter. You've got less fabric. You don't have all that down or synthetic insulation underneath your back getting compressed and just kind of being dead weight that you're carrying for no insulation purpose whatsoever. So if you're looking at shaving a little bit of weight out of your backpacking kit, a top quilt is definitely an awesome option to look into. And with your top quilt, UGQ sends this little piece of shock cord here with a couple toggles on it. Now this is the pad strap. I'll show you how the pad strap works. Let me fill up my sleeping pad first. So when your sleeping pad is inflated, you slide the little elastic cord around your sleeping pad and put the little toggles at the side. And coming up the side of your top quilt, you've got these little grosgrain tabs here. Slide the little toggle into the tab, and that attaches your top quilt to your sleeping pad. So if you're sleeping on the ground, your quilt stays attached to your pad. So if you toss and turn at night, you don't end up getting any gaps coming in. You don't get any cold air blowing in the side of you. Now, personally, I actually don't ever use the pad straps on my sleeping pad. I find that I just don't tend to roll around a whole lot at night. So once I kind of get in position, I'm pretty much out for the count. And I find the pad straps for me are just a little bit redundant. Pretty much everything that I have said so far is pros for the UGQ Bandit top quilt. If I had to say there is anything that I dislike about my top quilt, it's how beat up my top quilt has become over the years. Now, I had one blowout tear on my top quilt that was inflicted by myself. I was moving my camp location out of a windy area, and I thought I had stuffed my top quilt into my backpack, but it had just not stuffed in enough, and a gust of wind came and my top quilt went blowing out of my backpack and slammed itself into a tree, and a tree put a nice little hole on my top quilt. And I've got another patch up here by the beautiful Matty Outdoors logo. I lent my top quilt out to a friend, the first and last time I will lend my top quilt out to a friend, because it came back with a gaping hole in it that was not patched up whatsoever, and I had a bunch of down leak out of it, so I had to try and stuff the down back in and patch that up with some Tenacious Tape. So if you're getting yourself a top quilt in some of these ultralight fabrics, definitely pick yourself up some Tenacious Tape off of Amazon. As always, I'll put links down below. Just fantastic little patch tape. It's clear. It's not like super noticeable. I mean, I probably could have made this look prettier if I would have stuffed the down inside, but this one I patched up in the field, and I was just kind of in a mad rush and frustrated and angry with myself, so it kind of looks a little ghetto, but it is what it is. She's on there. She ain't coming off. So that's probably one of the only real like cons when it comes to my top quilt. I was going to purchase this top quilt again. I honestly probably would go without getting the open foot box. I thought I would use it a lot more, and I do use it from time to time, but not nearly as often as I thought I would. I do like having the non-tapered version, so mine's a perfect rectangle. It doesn't taper down at the feet, and it just gives me a little bit of a wider foot box at the bottom. I don't like my feet being constricted and closed in together, so that's a big bonus, but I think I would go with the sewn closed foot box if I was getting myself another Bandit top quilt. The last thing that I would change is an option that actually wasn't offered at the time when I got my top quilt, but is something that UGQ does offer now, and that is a baffle at the top of the quilt. The baffle is basically just a little ring of down that sews to the inside of the top quilt here. It helps seal off around your neck a little more. Now for the 20-degree top quilt, this being my summer/fall quilt, it's not really an issue for me. I do think the next top quilt I will be getting myself is a 0-degree or colder for those deep winter trips that I do up here in the Rockies. So definitely a neck baffle will be on that next top quilt that I get myself. Had no issues with the performance of the quilt. It holds true to its temperature rating of 20 degrees Fahrenheit or -6 degrees Celsius. I've taken just this quilt alone down into -10 degrees Celsius, so a little bit below 20 Fahrenheit, and I was perfectly fine. I don't layer up a whole lot when I'm sleeping at night. I was just wearing my basic sleeping tights and a merino wool top and my beanie that I always wear. Like I said, I was perfectly warm. I had, no issues waking up in the middle of the night being cold or chilly, so they do hold true to their temperature rating. If you're looking for tons of different fabric options and design options and different patterns you can get on your quilt and custom patterns you want on your quilt, UGQ is the place to go for that type of stuff. They just have more options out there than anybody else out there on the market. That's primarily why they're seen as one of the top, if not the top, quilt maker in sort of the cottage industry realm. Now, if you dug this review and you're looking for a little bit more information on the UGQ Bandit top quilt, I've done another video on my Bandit top quilt. It was a 1-year review after owning the quilt, and I will slide that right here for you. So when you're done with this video, you'll find me over there. Check that video out. As always, I'm Matty. Thank you so dang much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.